That intro. And yeah, no, I mean, like, listen, you've been a wonderful ally. Your insight has been helpful. And, for those people that don't know how hard it is to run a state party, you're always blamed for everything that goes wrong. You're never given credit for anything that you do. But having somebody like Martha that understands the significance of kind of that organizing model that I learned as an organizer back on then Senator Obama's campaign back in 2008 is huge. So Martha, thank you for your help with it, for this. Lisa, Jim, thank you for letting us kind of letting me be a part of it and kind of talk about Pennsylvania and what we're trying to do and where we're at and kind of like what we want to accomplish this year. So I'm going to share my screen. Please bear with me as I do that. Hold on one second. Sorry. I present. Oh, sorry. Bear with me. Share screen. That's what I want. Share. Okay, can everybody see what my screen?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So Pennsylvania we are a heavily populated state. We are now the 5th largest state in the country, but we're also arguably one of the most complicated states in the country. We have over 30,000 elected officials that we have to deal with. In my home county alone here in Allegheny County, we have just Democratic elected officials. We have 917 Democratic elected officials who are always they have their own thing going on in their own pet projects. So we have a very large, complicated, diverse state that we have a lot of interest to balance. So trying to run an organization and trying to put together a plan that kind of keeps our political allies and elected officials, keep them going and helping us, but also understand that we have a job to do, which is to turn out voters for elections is a big deal. So one thing I wanted to kind of talk about is where we've been and how we've gotten to this point. The past 4 years have been huge for this state. And I know that Martha and Jim both talked about accountability. We have been accountable in this state. In 2018, we had a very difficult race with re-electing our governor, re-electing our Senator Casey. We also elected, we went from having five members, Democratic members of Congress to 9 members in Congress. We won a breakthrough election with Connor Lamb in arguably one of the hardest elections in the country. I think a lot of you were either part of that or remembered that. Those are big wins, and they were also all grassroots driven. That's going to be a point I want to drive home time after time again. In 2019, where we were going on the downslope on the roller coasters Jim talked about. We pared down, but we still made strategic investments in Delaware County, which is outside of Philadelphia, for those who don't know. We won that county, took control of that county for the first time since the Civil War, right? That's a huge deal. Those suburban Philadelphia counties, while they've been trending Democrat, over the past couple of years, that's not historical. They are historically Republican areas that we have spent time putting grassroots effort on the ground to win those races. And then obviously last year, the big thing was, obviously winning the state and flipping it for Joe Biden. But this state put in a vote by mail program that has never been done before and had not been done before in Pennsylvania history. And I think states that have vote by mail, they kind of do a gradual ramp up. We rammed this thing through in 6 months. So we had to educate millions and millions of voters how to vote how to do it. And a lot of that effort was done by, again, phone banking, texting, and it was done by messaging that we as a state party led on to help get that out there. And ultimately, those votes are what carried the president and the vice president to victory. So just in 2020 alone, and this goes back to the peak of what we did, and this is all grassroots. We had a massive staff, one of the biggest in the country. But the numbers we did to contact, I know a lot of you were a part of that. Over total, between the primary and the pre-convention and post-convention, our team, our organizers, this party, and the volunteers did over almost 94 million voter contact attempts. I'm pretty sure that's the most that was in the country. And if you look here, because of that work that was done on the ground, we improved our presidential margin from Hillary Clinton to Joe Biden by 14.6% overall. And we improved it in 41 of 67 counties. And with such a narrow margin, that was a huge reason that we were able to win. Voter protection. We had the biggest voter protection program in the country. We had 73,000, you can see the stats there. We were handling 12,000 calls a day the last 6 weeks of the race. The number one issue was vote by mail, but this program, these stats was because we invested in having an actual almost grassroots organized based what we call county councils, but they're essentially neighborhood teams that we take that method and apply it to a voter protection model. So we have, a group of neighborhood team attorneys that can go out and handle things across, in whatever county that it may be. This voter protection program with all the lawsuits and all the drama with, voter suppression attempts and everything, this was a huge deal. We spent a lot of money in this state last year. I think just on the voter protection, the field program, all that stuff, we spent $23 million. We don't have a lot of money left because it was such a boom and bust cycle. We went for broke, and you saw the results that we had, but it was kind of like, it's almost like the dog caught its tail, and now it's like, what do we do next, right? But in Pennsylvania, we have elections, every couple months. You can see with some of the stuff we've done digitally. You can see some of the stuff we've done with mail. You can see on the comms front, we were always doing press events and helping push out the narrative. This organization has put in a lot of effort to really build that 2020 program. Took a lot of help from a lot of different people, including a lot of you on the call. But now we're moving on to 2021 and we're moving on to 2022. So we have a very hard road up against us. And knowing that state parties kind of are like this unheralded kind of way that we can organize, what we do this year and next year is going to impact what happens in 2024. And quite frankly, what's going to happen in 2028 when, knock on whatever my desk is made out of, we'll be trying to hold the White House for a third term. So understanding the significance of investing in a state party like Pennsylvania, like Wisconsin, like Michigan, we're ground zero. At the end of the day, elections are not won and lost in rooms in Washington, D.C. They're won in the states. And your help by pushing that into helping that build this program is a key thing. So kind of what we learned from last year and why this is so important is digital organ is a big thing that we must have, and not just during the pandemic. We've already increased our digital organizing. And these are investments that we made already, and why we need help, all of your help kind of getting us over the top on this thing. We've invested in digital organizing. Door-to-door still matters. We did door-to-door. Florida did not do door-to-door. And I think that's a big reason why we were able to win, and Joe Biden was winning Pennsylvania and we didn't win Florida. But understand that door-to-door matters, and improving data with the help of STAC, one of Martha's help organize that. We're really trying to up our data game and having cleaner data, better data. That's a big deal if you're trying to build a program. We're engaging communities of color. We've hired a constituency director for the Latin American community, African American community, rural community, to build that program. We're making early investments in voter protection. We've got those funds to reboot our voter protection team earlier than we did in 2019. And then most importantly, campaigns win with ground games. When it's a fight, when it's a 2-point win, we need that fight and we need that ground game. And what our plan is, because we have some key races like Jim talked about, we want to have for the first time in Pennsylvania Democratic Party history an actual field program that is a permanent thing that will then take the momentum we had from 2020, turn it into 2021, and then go into 2022 and just kind of keep that kind of infrastructure as a baseline, not having to kind of rebuild the whole thing from scratch like a lot of campaigns, a lot of states have had to do in the past. We already talked about kind of the appellate court races that's up this year. And then for those of you who were from Pennsylvania or paid attention to it, those Supreme Court races where another huge reason our Supreme Court victories back in 2015 were a big reason we were able to protect vote by mail when Trump went after it. So us having these races this year and fighting for for our courts, our appellate courts, is a big, big, big deal. So we have to make sure that we can support those candidates, because people don't know about judges. They don't think about that. So telling them, making sure that the Democrats and voters understand that they share those values, and using this as the way to kind of lay that foundation to have a permanent structure moving forward is very key. And also these local races are also important. Jim knows I say this all the time. Erie County, Pennsylvania is a massive deal. It is the swing county of all swing counties. It is the battleground of all battlegrounds. And on top of that, this past week was our primary. Erie is poised to actually make history by electing, if our candidate wins, his name is Tyler Titus. He will be the first transgender executive elected official in American history. So it's a big deal, and he's running against a crazy MAGA extremist. So like not only can we make history, but having that county executive, when we're having to have issues with trying to open up drop boxes and trying to keep hours open a little bit later to accept vote by mail, that's a huge, huge deal. And as you can see on the screen, both of these counties were determined by under 2,500 votes in last year. So like Erie and Northampton in their swing districts, we need to be able to help those candidates with the ground game so they can focus on putting mailers, doing digital, doing TV ads. We need to be there to help do the organizing, to help push them over the top, and then build that kind of ground game that will last going forward. And then, like we talked about 2022, I can skip over that. We're also doing a big voter registration push that we want to enfold into this program. We want to register 125,000 Pennsylvania voters, because now the margin between us and the Republicans is now down to 650,000. We've already done stuff we've already sent direct mail. We've already worked with Civic Tech to identify 300,000 unregistered likely Democrats in Pennsylvania. We've made these investments already, but we don't have quite enough to do this, to do the other stuff, and then also do the key part that we're seeing that we're missing, which is having that full-fledged ground program that is on the ground, helping build a true, well-rounded state party. Our digital director is building a brand new voter registration thing on your phone. Because our Department of States is not. It's just kind of clunky. So this actually helps make things easier, so that I did this with a friend last night. He wasn't registered to vote. I did it right on my phone, but I had to go to the Department of States, and it took me 25 minutes to get the thing to work. This will cut things down in 5 to 10 minutes. So this is another investment that we're making in the ramp up to 2022 and beyond. But again, there's a big key piece of that missing, which is the on the ground part, organizing. We want to make sure that with this on the ground thing is we're partnering with faith leaders, civic leaders, making sure that we can start doing door knocking. It is safe again to do that. Organizing the college campuses once they go back in the fall, organizing with the college Democrats. We need bodies to do that because it's a big state. I have to drive to Philadelphia. I'm dreading my drive to Philadelphia from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia tonight, because I'm going to get there at like 2 a.m. But that's what we need to do to build this thing up and actually have a real full-fledged campaign and a full-fledged structure that can sustain itself year after year after year. This is some more stuff about how we kind of like our plan to uplift and do this year round. Also, we want to open more field offices. We want to hire these organizers like we're talking about again, and then do it in more places than we were able to do in 2017 and the 2017-2018 cycle. We're also doing things like making sure that we're doing Spanish language stuff. That's something that we didn't do, and again, an investment we're making. So a lot of these things that we are doing with the kind of building out this program, we still need to have the ground game to push to do the infrastructure to build those lasting relationships. Again, Lisa, Jim, Martha, everybody on this call, thank you for even considering this project. It will pay dividends. I believe in field. I came up through field, and I think that if we can do this and do this right, this is a model that we can take to other states, Ohio. We can take it to states like Georgia. We can take it to the Carolinas. We can grow this and improve that if you invest in field and you invest in people,